I want to ask you a question. It's actually more serious than you might think. The Overton window, for those of you who don't know what that is, and if you don't, it's probably easier a Google search than it is having an idiot like me explain it to you. Um, so put a break in the video here if you want to go and have a quick search for that. Okay. But basically, I think it's fair to say that the Overton window has been pulled and moved uh, in politics to areas where things now that were considered to be unacceptable 10 years ago have been made acceptable. I don't just mean by the left, I mean by us, by activism, by everything else. There's things that are said now. I'll give you an example. Ethno-nationalism and stuff like that one time was treated like the worst word in our movement. It still is for some people. My point being is the Overton window is moved and people are looking at the bigger picture. That's probably not the best example I could have chosen, but it's the most extreme. But there are other examples of it as well. You know, the things that we talk about, like I'll tell you what, immigration and Pakistani Muslims, these were all off the table. Politicians will not speak about things that are not in the Overton window. We've pulled the Overton window in the place where many of the people now feel empowered to talk about these things because it is within inside that window. So I want to break this into two bits. One, I want to talk about ethno-nationalism in a minute, but also I'm not an ethno-nationalist, but I want to talk about it. But two, um, the Overton window moving, is it a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, obviously, you need to be able to shift it in order to bring the ideas that we've been talking about into view. When the Overton window is over a politically correct mess, then it's not going to help. But does anybody see any problems with what's happening with the move of that window? I mean, a lot of people like to treat it like it's a move that they're handling manually. And while there is some obviously manual pull, the truth of it is that you can overshoot. There's all kinds of things. Overshooting in this case um, could be dangerous. Wonder what your thoughts were, seriously, because there's some intelligent people that watch this channel and probably have a better take on this than me. What's your view? Seriously. Now, on ethno-nationalism. I want to talk about it because here's a dirty truth. And people won't like me. There's some people that won't like me for saying what I'm about to say. So if you're one of those, hear me out before you turn me off. Ethno-nationalism was put into our movement as a dirty word. It was put in a movement to say Nazi, basically. And I think at the time the reason was because Colette saw Tommy was in jail and thought he would come in with his 100,000 strong YouTube channel and take over the movement with some cheap parlor tricks that you could see through with just a simple IQ. Don't get me wrong though, the strategy was effective. He was using useful idiots to be useful idiots. You can't blame his strategy. It was reasonably cost effective and it was working. So I'll give him his credit, but the fact of it is he's already documented Nazi prick. So whatever anybody tells you, he may hide it better now, but it's already catalogued, and you don't change that. So that's who he is. He's an actual motherland worshipper, and this is what I wanted to talk to you about: ethno-nationalism. It was a dirty word. I think some people thought it needed to be at the time, but it was showing massive ignorance as to what ethno-nationalism is. And the reason I bring this up today is because we need to understand a little bit more about it in our movement, because if we don't, we will not realize the people that are standing right next to us. I guarantee you know ethno-nationals. I guarantee you're probably friends with some if you're in this movement. I guarantee you'd be surprised if you went to Brexit marches and you heard some of the people say things like National Front and stuff like that, and you realise, oh, it's Brexit. It's not a CivNat demo, so therefore you're going to get all kinds of show up. So, well, you're never going to get me backing up the National Front. What I'm trying to tell you is FNATs are like probably about a third of the European population. Because they're like many beliefs. The ethno-nationalism is not a 0 and 1. It's not a 0-1 state. there is a whole, because like I said to you, it's about a third of Europe, there's a whole range, spectrum of beliefs within that. It's a bit like religion, actually. So if you say to an ethno-nationalist, you believe in Hitler or something, well, with probably 95% of them, they would deny it, and all 95% would be telling you the truth, because it'd only be the Colettes and certain other people. Like that's a division. That's a division within inside ethno-nationalism. Just like we got divisions of our own, that's just division within inside ethno-nationalism. So not all ethno-nationalists believe in Hitler, and that. In fact, most of them don't. Most of them don't. There's some ethno-nationalists that hate our army, for instance, which is a very leftist thing to do. That doesn't actually represent a lot of them, in fact, most of them. Like I say, there's a massive spectrum of beliefs on that side. Some people believe that the country should be 95% white. Some people, and this is the majority of ethno-nationals I've spoke to who I got on with. A lot of them just say this: "Hey, look, the Jewish people want, the Zionists want a homeland for the Jews. That's all I want. I want a homeland for our people. I don't want to be replaced." And that's what a lot of ethno-nationals I've managed to get on with have said to me. They're not trying to get everybody out of the country, although at the moment they're probably a bit more pissed off than normal. But in general, they weren't trying to make the country totally white. Most of them, they were trying to say, we're being pushed out and we have a right to be here. We've been here 1,000 years and we have a right to exist. And there were certain people like Danny Roscoe and other people that were trying to talk to some of these people years ago, and people were like, "Oh, what are you speaking to them for?" But some of them did have some racist views, but Danny was okay with it, and he was letting them. I think it was Danny, or was it Black Van Man? I can't remember. I can't remember. We're at a similar time, but either no, it was Black Van Man. Either way, he was letting them say what they wanted to say, and it actually closed bridges because they started to get on. And my point being is, like, so those ethno-nationalists there, for instance, they didn't care. At first, they cared that he was black until they realised that he was black, and he was black, and he was on the side. Therefore, he wasn't black. He was a Brit. He was a Brit. And so there are a lot of ethno-nationals out there. There's no ethno-nationals everywhere. They just won't say it because it was made a dirty word. And it's really worth understanding. You've got your Colettes, you've got some strange fuckers out there. Just the same as you have in every other part of this movement, you've got some extreme elements. They tend to be the smallest elements, like the White Vanguard, who turned up with all 8 of them at the Southampton demo. Yeah. And the reason they come in with these uniforms and big things and everything is because they have to make a big noise because there ain't many of them. But the ethno-nationals, I know for a fact, I'm not going to name them, are scattered all through this movement. Most of them don't believe in, oh, let's get rid of everybody out of this country. Most of them want just what the Jews want: a place to call home without having to fear of losing it every day. That's not evil. So it's worth understanding this, and I will get shit for this video, but I won't as well, because people won't kick back as hard as if they want to, because the truth is they'll know I'm telling the truth. They know what ethno-nationalism is better than I do, and they've hidden it for a while. But reason I'm telling you this now is what you're going to start to see is a lot more ethno-nationals appearing on certain things. Now, this is what scares me about the Overton window, is because people are so ignorant about what ethno-nationalism really is. Some people aren't going to know the difference between a Colette and a decent person. And Colette does a great impersonation of a decent person. I will say he does a great, and he is a decent person if you subscribe, if you know what I mean. Yeah, which means he's not a decent person. But you get my point. So our ignorance of ethno-nationalists, instead of being something to be proud of, instead of something to be, be all righteous about, what we've got to realise is we've lived in a place of absolute ignorance, partly by choice, because of the attack that was on our movement by a particular brand of ethno-nationalism. It's not the same thing. I would argue there are forms of nationalism that are just that, so again, there's a big spectrum of beliefs. If you don't believe me, look into it. speak to some people, you'll start to find out it's a much bigger world than you knew. I've known this for a long, long time. I've just kept this back to myself because the time wasn't right. Well, you're seeing the Overton window switch now, and you will be hearing probably more people come out and say what they are or roundabout. And this is, but what I will say, it's also the danger zone. Is where we've also got to look out for certain types of Steve Law type people and people like that, and make sure that they get their fucking head kicking. Ha ha ha! Playing a character. I'm just playing a character, guys. You can't take a thing I say seriously because everything I say is bullshit. It's just a character. Um, but yeah, people like that, yeah, just got to watch out for because there will be people trying to slide in, but there's a lot of good people out there that designate themselves ethno-nationalists, and I haven't heard a single racist thing that come out of their mouth. So, and not because they're hiding it, you know. So there's a massive, massive spectrum, and it is incumbent on us to understand the difference because those people are coming. Those people are coming whether you want them or not, and some of them are good people. It might be worthwhile learning now how to discern who is who, because like I say, the Colettes are the 1%. So you've got to figure out all of the other spectrum of the other 99%. But there's a massive wedge in the middle that are just people. They're just fucking people. And those are the people we need. And this is something our movement would never admit to before. Because before, again, we were under attack by a certain group of people. But I look back at that as being quite funny now. At the time it was all stressful, but I look back at that as being quite funny. Ridiculous in a way. But what I didn't like about it was the JQ would be brought up all the time. It's like, oh, fuck off. JQ means Jewish question. I didn't even click myself at the time. And they would be discussing on the channels how they were going to gradually basically groom the public into being ready to start hating the Jews. So that was a no-go for me. Just simply because if you're planning to hate any group of people for the sake of hating them because it's in your belief system, well, I'm not in. So I don't even sit here and plan how to hate Muslims. So if I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do that with other people either. So, you know, but being able to, discernment is my point. Discernment over labeling or whitewashing or stereotyping is going to be really important. They're coming whether you like it or not. But there's many of them that are good people. Let's figure out who's who as we go along. And you're going to see them turning up on podcasts. So you can either see them turning up on a podcast where you know that everything's staged, or I could have a few of them on my podcast and ask the hard questions you want to hear. Just a thought for the future. I've only just thought them out myself, but just a thought for the future, because hopefully we'll both be surprised. And if we're not, well then we'll know, won't we? Just a thought, throwing it out there for you. What are the ramifications of the shift in the Overton window right now? Are they good, bad, both? How do you feel about it? Tom Fury, Zero News, calling it a day for now.